Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia or Boku no Hero Academia 279 League of Villains versus UA Students. Now, another banger of a chapter. Like I said in my other reviews, this entire week's worth of chapters were awesome. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing we see is actually Juzo Honanuki softening the ground as Tokage from Class 1B, they're both from Class 1B, urges him on. Her quirk, Lizard Tail Splitter, a really creative name, is so multifunctional. When I saw her in this chapter, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, her body's here, her head's here. Then I remembered what her quirk was. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But her quirk, which is Lizard Tail Splitter, like I said, very multifunctional. She can use it to attack, for espionage, to distract, just a solid quirk in general. I think it's a really, really cool quirk to have. She uses her quirk to split her head. One part is everything almost above the bridge of her nose, and the rest is everything beneath her nose up to about just above her pelvis. And I'm not sure where everything beneath her pelvis is. Where's everything, like where's her hips, where's her legs? But she spies on Gigantomachia, letting Juzo and the others know the location of the beast of Gigantomachia. So a really cool use of her quirk. Meanwhile, we see the rest of the kids putting on their serious faces as they kind of remember the advice given to them, or not even the advice, it's just kind of some information given to them, which is, there were blue flames sprouting from the back of Gigantomachia. That almost definitely means the League of Villains, or at the very least, one of the League of Villains, Dabi, is on the back of Gigantomachia, which means a boatload more danger for them to be wary of. Now, Yaoyorozu gives us some information on her sedative here. She says usually it's administered intravenously, but due to Machia's sheer size, they'd require 30 liters of the sedative to actually put him to sleep if they try to get it done intravenously. So her 5-second plan here is to administer the sedative orally, which will require only that small vial's worth of sedative that she's using, and that's why she's created so many of them, so that through this battle of attrition, they can eventually throw one of these vials into his mouth and get him to go to sleep. Now, what I like about this page, with Yaoyorozu kind of monologuing this idea, this plan, is that we see the tools the kids are actually going to go on to use this chapter to try to hold down Machia and to pop this sedative in his mouth. We see Mineta's grape ball vine thing attached to these ropes or vines. It really depends on who made them. If it was Yaoyorozu, I can almost bet they're ropes or some sort of steel cable. If it was Shiozaki from Class 1B, then they would most definitely be vines, but I didn't see any thorns or anything on them. So we also see Yaoyorozu with Jozu and Tokage dropping something into his mud. This is Yaoyorozu. She takes off her top and she's dropping something into the mud. And these are the bombs which we actually see later on, which cause Machia to fall deeper into the mud. Now, it was a really informative page in my opinion, where the illustration did a lot of the talking. We didn't get like a huge amount of exposition just in writing. We got it all through the imagery, which was awesome. While this was all going on, we see Mount Lady still going for a rough ride, holding onto Gigantomachia's leg, getting dragged along and damaged as he runs rampant really towards Shigaraki. And it looks like Kamui Woods has bound a whole bunch of branches connected to Machia, but Mount Lady makes it sound as if he's passed out and he's just kind of rolling along on her head, just kind of joining in for the ride. But she refers to him as Senpai here. I wasn't ever aware that she'd ever referred to Kamui Woods as Senpai. Does she normally call him that? I don't think she has. Contextually, it kind of made sense. She wants Kamui Woods to loosen his grip so that she can get back up, let go of Machia, and then they can resume their attack. But can she not just let go of Machia and grab onto Kamui Woods and kind of break off his wooden branches which are connected to Machia? I thought that would have been fine as well. I mean, they do seem to go missing for a chunk of this chapter, and then they attack again, which is really awesome. But this is where the fun begins, and I thought this was all pretty awesome. Machia goes down, getting sucked into the deep of Juzo's mud. All of the Class 1A, Class 1B kids are prepared for this, but we also see the surrounding heroes, pro heroes at this point, notice this, and they turn their attention to Machia like, oh, something's going on over there. While this is all going down, and while Gigantomachia is down, Shiozaki wraps her vines around Machia's neck, anything to kind of slow him down from getting back up, really. However, we have Sato, we have Shishida, and we have Kendo. They managed to attach Mineta's grape ball vine thing to the underside of Machia's chin, using ropes to pull him down, and they're the kind of the powerhouses among the kids at this point in time. So Toga looks at the kids and seems to hesitate for some reason or another. I'm not quite sure what to make of her reaction. What was she thinking? Was she looking for Deku or Ochako, or was she just surprised that these kids were actually able to hold down Machia at least for a second? Because that is an impressive feat. Talking about Sato, Shishida, and Kendo, they're holding down this absolute beast I'm not even sure if you'd call him human at this point, but this absolute beast of a being. So this is where we get to see how good Yaoyorozu's plan was, even though technically it kind of ended in elements of failure. She knew they wouldn't be able to trap Makia and not deal with the League of Villains directly. So she chose to take the fight to them. Shoji, Aoyama, Ojiro, they all immediately flank the League of Villains, firing Aoyama's lasers at them. Now, Aoyama, for as cool as his quirk is, the lasers don't actually tend to do much. I mean, he's firing his lasers, and it seems to be more of a distraction. I mean, if he'd aimed them better, or maybe because they were flying through the air, they were they had high maneuverability in the end, they were kind of falling all the while. Maybe he just couldn't land them very accurately. But I feel like his quirk hasn't really, in the opportunities like this where it's had the opportunity to damage extensively, it hasn't really done that. So I'm not sure exactly how powerful his lasers are. I mean, we've seen it go through solid rock, right? I'm pretty sure we've seen that before. So I just like to see more from his lasers at this point. Anyway, Aoyama fires his lasers. In my opinion, they're more kind of they're a distraction rather than the attack. We see Jiro try to land her own attack, but one of her jacks is burnt by Dabi. Once again, this seemed to be another distraction, and all of this seems to have been a diversion for Kaminari, who throws out his targets, these little kind of almost like lightning rods, but they're discs for his lightning, and he tries to land a full-powered attack, full-powered lightning blast, and he even partners with Yanagi, I think her name is, who uses her poltergeist quirk to propel Kaminari into the air. She has the ability to, I think it's levitate or use telekinesis on objects. I think her max is like the human body weight. So she propels Kaminari into the air. He's there ready to clap cheeks. And this was a brilliant idea. I thought it was awesome, but the League of Villains prove too experienced, with Mr. Compress firing his last reserves of debris, hitting Kaminari and possibly knocking him out. And I feel bad for Kaminari here, because Mr. Compress, I think, is able to, when he shoots out those little bullets, those little marbles, and he has a mechanical arm now which shoots them out at a decent speed at the very least. And I think whatever is within those marbles, or whatever he's compressed, for instance the debris, I think they conserve that momentum. So Kaminari was not just like, he didn't just knock into stationary debris or stationary rock. It was flying at him at the speed and at the rate of at the momentum that those marbles were going at. So Kaminari got some pretty extensive damage, I'm assuming. You see his head was bloodied, but I think he's going to be out for a while. The other kids then, who were trying to sleep Makia, they also fail, with Makia blowing a gust of air powerful enough to actually uproot them and blow them away. This also means that a whole bunch of the vials with the sedative in it have been basically destroyed. And that led me to the question of how many are left? Does that mean Mina at the end, she has the last one? Surely that can't be the last one, right? Dabi sets the trees around Makia alight as he talks about two of the quirks he's noticed in Makia, even though we know Makia has a whole host of them. So one of these quirks allows him to convert morale into physical energy, which is actually that's dangerous, man. And then the other numbs him from pain. Once again, quite dangerous, but just because you're numb from pain doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be an amazing villain or an amazing hero. If you're numb from pain but you've lost a liter of blood, your body will still notify you that you've lost a liter of blood. You're not walking anywhere. Now, I'm pretty sure we've heard of that morale quirk before, converting morale into physical energy. I'm not quite sure where it was. Let me know in the comments. I swear we've seen it before. I might be confusing it for Hanabata's quirk from the Liberation Front, that guy that was running for presidency or something. But I do feel like we've seen the morale quirk somewhere before, and I don't think it was Hanabata's quirk. This is where we see Yaoyorozu's bombs come into play, dragging down Makia again as he tries to get up. The issue here is Makia has decided to dig into the ground and try to continue forward that way, and the issue for the League here is if Makia decides to go underground, he'll friendly fire the League and probably kill them all. So Makia is in a bit of a pinch here because he's been commanded, or they assume he's been commanded, to bring the League of Villains with him. And he can't friendly fire them because he's going to get wrecked by Shigaraki, or he's going to disappoint Shigaraki. So that's not an option for him. So Makia is in a pinch and can't get out of it because he's being held down. He's being restricted by the League of Villains. Even worse for them is the fact that in this moment, Mount Lady and the pro heroes jump atop Makia. This is awesome. Disregarding the other heroes for a second, Mount Lady looked like an absolute boss doing this. She jumps atop the back of Makia. She's hurt, she's bleeding, she's busted up, but she jumps right back into the fight. And she's trying to pull open his mouth. The other heroes start to converge on the League of Villains. I'm not going to lie, the League are in a real big pinch right now. With that many pro heroes making their way towards them, it's going to be difficult for them to get out of this. Mr. Compress is all out of shots, all out of marbles. Spinner is more of a hand-to-hand combatant, nothing really ranged. The only useful ones here, I think, would be Toga and Dabi. I've forgotten who else was there. Mind you, that's a really powerful duo, Toga and Dabi. But up against a multitude of different quirks, this should be difficult. I don't want to be presented with a really bullshit reason for, oh, the villains, they just escaped because they're strong. I want there to be actual, like, these guys did this specific thing, and because of that, there was nothing but escape that could have occurred. So I don't want there to be a bullshit reason for escape here if that's what's going to happen. And the chapter ends with Mountain Lady putting all her faith in the kids of UA and forcing open Makia's mouth. Like I said, she's just pulling his top jaw away from his bottom jaw. And once again, mad props to her for even noticing that the kids were trying to throw something into his mouth. You know, while she was away for those couple pages, she could have been attending to her own wounds. I might have even just, if I was there, I would have been just holding my face, being like, "Oh my God, I'm bleeding." But she kept paying it. She was attentive enough to understand that the kids were trying to do something here. And our knight in shining armor from the kids is actually Mina. She coats herself in her acid, breaks through Dabi's flames. Apparently his flames don't vaporize her acid as quickly as he would have hoped. I'm not sure if he actually notices that she's broken through. And she's running straight towards Makia's now open maw. But what will happen next? So if Makia gets slept, the League are in a much bigger pinch than before. They'd have to face Mount Lady, the other pro heroes, and the kids of UA all together. And the kids of UA are not exactly a force to be underestimated. They're gonna clap cheeks if they have the opportunity to, and very few people would be able to win that fight. Toga and Dabi probably ain't two of those people, especially because as strong as Dabi is, he's not going to outlast everyone. He's not going to win in a battle of attrition. So the real issue here might be Toga, especially if she ingests like Mount Lady's blood or something like that and goes full Mount Lady size. That's going to be an issue. That might actually be how they escape, unless Makia in his death throws, before he goes to sleep, throws the League of Villains in Shigaraki's direction as a last resort. But the landing would most likely kill the League of Villains. So I'm thinking that's not an option. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you guys on Sunday, Monday, the same thing as I always do. And that's about it. I'll see you guys in a bit.